Welcome to SAT TV News. I am Larry Larrock, your presenter. Among the developments, University of the West Indies launches new program. Violent crime could threaten stability of Nevis, says Premier. Cannes Film Festival suffers $1 million jewelry theft. And in sports, affiliated associations call for new DOC elections. Details of these soon to follow.
Whenever the iron play, I'll be there. Wherever the steel band play, I'll be there. Anytime it's carnival, yo, festival, bacchanal, behind the big truck, down the road, everybody, they know that I'll be there. Yo, this is Mr. Challenge, you're watching SAT TV, the people's choice.
Welcome back. A delegation of the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association, FFCA, visited Dominica from Wednesday, May 15th to Thursday, May 16th to assess Dominica's cruise tourism product. Minister of Tourism and Legal Affairs Honorable Ian Douglas noted Dominica has enjoyed a very fruitful and productive relationship with the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association and its member lines. It is that same relationship that brought them to Dominica to see the work we have been engaging in. The group hosted discussions with stakeholders involved in the cruise industry to gain knowledge on the issues that currently affect cruise tourism.
A lot of the factors, a lot of the elements that affect the product and that affect the development or impact on the development of cruise tourism doesn't necessarily reside only with the Ministry of Tourism. So for example, all of the infrastructural development you see taking place in Dominica now, the millions that are being spent on the road, the airport upgrade, about 120 million have been spent on lighting the runway and doing the road from Melvin Hall across to Pocasset and then the Pocasset leg into Roseau, the Portsmouth to Roseau Road, the investments that Mr. Badwell and the Dominica Air and Seaports Authority continue to make at the seaport on the fendering system. All of those issues, the investment that we have made at the filtration system at Antrim. We've put in a state-of-the-art filtration system, and again, the 500,000 gallon water storage tank that we have built up at Monbrus so that we have dedicated fresh potable water to be supplied to the ships.
He said we as Dominicans need to work hard so that our tourism product can always be the best, as it can significantly affect a country's rating. Mr. Douglas said that a representative from Disney Cruise Lines was part of the FCCA delegation, which assessed their cruise product to report back to Disney to consider Dominica as one of their cruise destinations. Florida Caribbean Cruise Association's Vice President, Mr. Adam Cesirano, stated the delegation had a wonderful fact-finding trip to discover what Dominica has engaged in to improve their tourism cruise product.
There's a lot of good things that are being done. We have a great relationship with the government. They're always at our meetings and pushing to get more ships in this region and for Dominica. But like we've said in our meetings, it's global competition out there. You know, the industry will put ships and change itineraries as we see passenger demand. Dominica has had a decrease in cruise traffic, but it's nothing that really Dominica or the government has done wrong. It's just a shift in passenger demand. Will that shift happen again? Most likely. And it's going to be the destinations that are working with the industry, like Dominica and the others, closely and positively, and doing the things such as the premier site for cruise tours. Those are great incentives for the industry to look at Dominica and say, you know, we need to be back in Dominica sometime.
Mr. Cesirano noted that countries must continue to make improvements as it relates to cruise passengers so they can continue to enjoy their visits to the various countries. Ms. Lina Jensen, Princess Cruises manager, praised Dominica for being such a beautiful island and says passenger ratings are very important as it can be used to determine countries that they would like ships to travel to. Ms. Jensen noted, we have to ensure the quality of service is 100% all the time, as not all passengers will take organized tours. Therefore, independent tours are just as important.
So regardless of whether or not they go out with us or independent driver guides, we need to make sure that the quality of service is the same, is high, because your guides and your drivers are the ambassadors to your country. They set the first and last impression of your country. So it's only a benefit to you to make sure that you have the right people in place to be able to provide these experiences, whether they be through the cruise line or independently. So I would just encourage you to, make sure that those people who are representing your country are really, truly representing your country well.
Director of Government and Community Relations at Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines Limited, Mr. Federico Gonzalez Denton stated, Dominica has many aspects working in its favor, including nature.
And another thing that is also working in favor of Dominica is the friendliness of the people of Dominica. That's something that constantly has been rated very highly. I think it's the same in basically in all other cruise lines. The experience that our guests have with the people of Dominica. So that's something that needs to be protected, needs to be encouraged, because that's the first thing that the guests see here is people. The people that smile, the smile of the people, and the last thing that they see is the same thing, is the people. So that's something that Dominica is doing very, 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 very well. Obviously, as my colleagues have said, there are certain things that need to be improved.
He continued to say the investment the government is making as it relates to infrastructural development will surely work towards their advantage, as few countries in the region are doing so. Mr. Denton stated, even after you have gotten cruise passengers to visit the island, it is inadequate if they do not spend their money, so government needs to work on new ways to facilitate travelers' spending. In more stories, following the launch of Crime Stoppers Dominica on Wednesday, May 15th, National Security Minister Honorable Charles Savre is commending the private sector organizations who worked on making this initiative possible. The minister who supports the program said, this initiative represents a significant milestone in crime-fighting efforts in Dominica. This is based on the models applied around the world, offering anonymity and rewards to encourage participation.
A common saying which I fully endorse is that any crime committed is one crime too many. Crime, however, is committed by people of all origins and backgrounds, religious persuasions, political affiliation, and employment status. So-called white-collar crimes are usually committed by persons who are gainfully employed and are usually in well-paid positions. So while unemployment may lead to petty crime, severe crimes have little, if anything, to do with unemployment. The effects of crime are felt by all in society, not just those directly impacted by the crime, but also family members of both the victims and the perpetrators and the wider society.
Mr. Savre says the effects of crime on society can be outlined in many ways, but generally includes trauma, emotional and psychological effects on the victims, their families, loved ones, and friends. It also results in the loss of income, business, property, sense of security, and trust in society and its institutions.
While we all agree that the government should strive to engender a climate where citizens feel safe and secure, the citizens themselves have a role to play in engendering this sense of security. The adoption of a zero tolerance to crime will rob the criminal of the sense of impunity that he can commit a crime and be protected from detection by his family, his friends, and his community. The adoption and launch of Crime Stoppers in Dominica is a tacit manifestation of this truth, and more reason why this initiative by the private sector is so timely in our development.
Mr. Savre noted, criminals are like every other human being you see daily at work or in the park watching cricket or football, or shop in the same stores as us. He said the Ministry of National Security has in the past promoted the idea that crime resolution is the community's responsibility predicated on intelligence obtained through the cooperation of the average citizen. The complexity of crime today is so high that even developed nations and governments struggle to limit its occurrence, the minister stated. He added that the level of sophistication being used by the criminal elements are sometimes far superior to the facilities available to law enforcement agencies.
Crime resolution is a major element of the effort at making Dominica a peaceful environment where businesses can thrive and citizens can feel safe, where economic prosperity is not thwarted by those among us bent on acquiring wealth through unlawful and degenerative behavior. We therefore welcome the involvement of the church through its Commission on Crime and the private sector organizations. Our crime fighting involves a suite of applications and approaches geared at overcoming criminal activities and serves to limit opportunities for illegal exploits, while at the same time providing the wherewithal for apprehending and prosecuting perpetrators.
Robust crime fighting encompasses an adequate legal framework, a competent and efficient judiciary, and a well-equipped law enforcement agency, both with the requisite skills and appropriate technology, said Mr. Savre.
The government of Dominica recognizes the importance of combating criminal activities as a major factor contributing to economic development of the country. Quite apart from the personal and human tragedies of crime, there is a direct correlation between the level of investment and the perceived level of crime in society. This is particularly so in fledgling economies where tourism and direct foreign investment is expected to contribute significantly to the development effort.
Correctional facilities that provide opportunities for rehabilitation of criminals and criminal elements are also necessary, he added. In more stories, the Ministry of Health advising the public that publication made on Friday, May 10, 2013, by the Chronicle newspaper article, Volume 17, which carried a headline story titled, "No CT scan at PMH over a year," is misleading and statements are erroneous. The Ministry of Health noted that the last CT scan was done on March 25, 2013. The Ministry further advised on March 20, 2013, a call was placed to Medica International Inc. by the maintenance supervisor and the senior radiographer at the Princess Margaret Hospital, reporting to the company about an XC error on the CT machine. They were instructed to shut down. Arrangements were promptly made by the Ministry of Health to address the matter after receiving a report from the hospital's management team. The service engineer arrived in Dominica on the evening of April 2, 2013, and on April 3rd, he arrived at the X-ray department at approximately 8:30 a.m. and diagnosed that the X-ray tube was faulty, needed replacement, and reported his findings to the facility's manager. A service report was submitted to the head office, who advised total shutdown of the machine that day. A request was made to Medica for an invoice for the replacement part, which was received on April 5th. Payment was then made, and they were informed by the company that the part had been shipped to Dominica and would arrive in a few days. The Ministry of Health said that every effort is being made to solve this problem and apologized for any inconvenience caused. On Friday, May 17th, UWI Open Campus launched the introduction of their Bachelors of Science Social Work program. The program, which begins in August of 2013, is especially designed with 3 exit points: the certificate, diploma, and the bachelor's degree. All courses in the program will be offered online, blended, or face-to-face. Students enrolled in the program will learn to demonstrate an understanding of roles and values of social work and apply social work principles in their professional practice.
The program reflects fundamental themes necessary for region building and development, including advocacy and human rights and social justice for the advancement of communities, groups, and individuals in order to release human potential for self-empowerment.
Welfare Officer of the Social Welfare Division, Mrs. Delia Gideon Stedman, claimed, with the knowledge she has gained, she is better able to separate her moral values during intervention and assessment of cases using an independent approach. The welfare officer said when she reflected on the qualities of a social worker, she realized the need to have trained social workers on staff of all institutions, particularly at schools, hospitals, and social services. She went on to say her practical experience at the acute psychiatric unit has changed her perspective on persons with mental illness. She is impressed with the multidisciplinary approach that is being used at the unit to assist patients in the recovery process by involving the families and the wider community. In closing, Ms. Gideon Stedman highlighted one of the core values in the Code of Ethics of Social Work.
In closing, one of the core values in the Code of Ethics of Social Work is that social workers are constantly challenged in practice to develop and enhance their professional expertise to address the ever-changing needs of society. Therefore, I recommend that persons whose profession involves working with people take the opportunity in developing their knowledge and skills by registering for the BSc in social work. I must say that also to something that I've learned from the University of the West Indies is that academics is not all. Your personality, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself also plays a part in attaining a degree. So it's not just having a degree, but everything that goes with your personality makes your degree complete.
Mr. Oliver Wallace, counselor at the Social Welfare Division, said doing the program at UWI made his work a lot easier. Social work also involves interaction between people and institutions, and an area which is seriously lacking attention, he said.
The advantage of doing a social work program is that it's very diverse for one, because you could come and sit and do your degree in social work, but nobody knows where you'll end up. Because I did my first degree in social work and then went on to do project management. And now I'm program officer for the Caribbean HIV and AIDS Alliance. But then you could have positions in health, within the education system. There are even certain probably commercial establishments who would need social workers, because anywhere you have people, you have needs. And because of that, because people have needs and they need help, there's the position for the social worker.
Mrs. Esther Thomas, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Social Services, Community Development and Gender Affairs, asked potential students to take advantage of the program as it will afford them a good opportunity. In his closing remarks, Dr. Francis Sevre, Director of the Open Campus Countrysides, read a few words of Mother Teresa's.
And it says, life is an opportunity, benefit from it. Life is beauty, admire it. Life is a challenge, meet it. Life is a duty, complete it. Life is a game, play it. Life is a promise, fulfill it. Life is sorrow, overcome it. Life is a song, sing it. Life is a struggle, accept it. Life is a tragedy, confront it. Life is an adventure, dare it. Life is luck, make it. Life is too precious, do not destroy it. Life is life, fight for it.
In other stories, a team of 7 officials from the Global Strategies for Athletes and Basketball, based in the United States, is currently on island. Director of the organization, Mr. Craig Sladek, explains the reason for their trip.
Our purpose here is really to get to know the people here in the sports world of here in Dominica. Our hope is to bring goodwill, to really to meet as many people and see how we can advance not only sport, but also share about our faith in Jesus Christ.
During visits to various schools in and around Roseau, the team taught students the fundamentals of basketball and other sports. Thus far, following interactions with the students have been great, as the students are very receptive, said Mr. Sladek. What have you learned thus far about sports in Dominica based on your interaction with the students?
Really finding out that the sport is one that the students really embrace a lot of different sports, and sports that oftentimes aren't a part of American culture, whether it be cricket or netball. But it's a education both for the students and for us. But our coaches have loved every minute that we've been here.
Based on what you observed thus far, what would you like to see be implemented from what you know about sports in America compared to Dominica?
I think one of the things that we really like to do in coming here is to establish a long-term relationship, and really we'd like to get more training for the athletes here so that they can not only advance individually but also advance as a team, because there are some, even last night we saw that there are some amazing athletes but they just don't have understanding of strategies in games.
He added, the long-term goal of this project is to have their staff stationed in Dominica who will engage in the continued training of coaches and athletes. Certified personal trainer and fitness coach Mr. Simeon Lang says it is very important that athletes are in top physical condition in order to reach their full potential in any sport they play. He pointed out some of the challenges faced when training athletes.
Some athletes feel they're good enough and they don't need further training. Others might be compliance. Younger athletes especially don't feel like maybe they need to eat as healthy or get the proper rest at night, or just work that hard when it doesn't involve maybe, the football or the basketball specific training.
You mentioned eating healthy and getting a good night's rest. Give us more of the details that athletes needs to follow in regards to being on top of their game per se.
Absolutely. Rest is a big thing, because when we're training, either strength training, speed and running, or practicing our sport, we're actually breaking our bodies down a little bit. And recovery and recuperating from that training is very vital. It means, getting to bed at a good hour. And it's during those sleeping hours that our muscles rebuild, that our body is resting and recharging for the next day. And when we don't get enough of that rest and good rest, it can deter our skills.
Nutrition is also vital, as athletes require a lot of energy to fuel their high intense workouts or when they are playing their respective sports, said Mr. Lang. Mr. Ryan Livingston, a basketball coach, stated, it is very important to educate athletes on personal development, which plays a vital role in their conduct.
I think the challenge is true of any sport, and just kind of working with young people, and I think is motivation. Just trying to keep kids motivated. There's a lot of today. There's a lot of external distractions, whether it comes from media or social activities. I think just keeping our athletes focused to work hard and to understand that when they're in their sport, to train hard and the value of hard work. I think just continually there's more things that can distract us as we go through this world nowadays, and just kind of keeping them focused on what they're doing.
He added, athletes have to love the sport they play, or else it will be very difficult for them to excel. We now go to this week's episode of Street Talk.
My view on the role of men in society today is I believe men is lacking. Honestly, because when I look around, and especially in Dominica, and to my brothers out there, I don't mean that in no bad way, but men is lacking, especially the workforce. I go around in the different supermarkets, I go around in the shops and in the stores, and most of the spending is done by the women. I don't know if it's the men working in secret and giving the women the money to spend, but as I can see, most of this is the women that just really trying to take over and to control right now. So I really asking myself, what is happening to the brothers?
No, men are not picking up their role in society, because many women that are taking care of their children, while men are not taking care of their children, and they are just using their money to buy things like cars and jewelry, while women have to use their money to buy Pampers and stuff for their children.
And it's not just in Dominica, it's like a trend, it's like a worldwide trend, where it's just women is on a roll right now to take over, you know, and I raised up as a little boy in St. Joseph here in man is the boss of the home. Now it seems to be reversing the other way, where women is taking over the home. So I really believe in Dominica. There are some positive men out there. My brothers, I know, and I'm giving you credit for that. There are some positive fathers, there are some positive husbands, and there are some positive men out there doing their best. But I don't know, again, just like I said, when I walk around the place and I go around different avenues, especially on the ghettos and on the blocks and by the roads, the amount of young men I see, I wonder if it's the government that not providing work, or if it's young men that just decide to sit down and don't look for work to do, or if the economy of the country is bad. I keep on asking myself, what is the reason? What is the cause for so much young men to just, you know, be lacking behind in society like that?
If you see men was doing like me, Max from St. Joe, we could see a big difference in children with parents and father responsibility growing up to be a positive child for tomorrow. Because fathers have to take care of their children. Not only when your child be in drugs and things you say molasses and family. You have to bring the child from preschool to secondary to be college, and you have to be there with your child. My little boy, I taking care of him. Micah Montot, and I know I played a big role in this boy. I'm his father. I there for him. And his mother, we there. I want to see this boy grow up and be a man of tomorrow. So he could be a minister, he could be a prime minister. When I could be proud of a doctor, I could be proud of my son. I put in a real path to see my child grow up, boss. I could like to see men, their responsibility, take care of their children. Don't wait to go in court to maintain their children. Take the father, real bold step. Say that my child, I have everything to him in him. I go be to his meeting. I go function with him. I stand up there with him. Anything he there with to do for the child, I support it. That's my child. The child you have is the child of tomorrow. You don't know when you get sick, you say you have a child to take care of you. You have the child, it's supposed to be the father be responsible of your child. Take care of your child. Don't reach to go in court. That's not supposed to be for a father to take care of his child.
There's always an open gap as it relates to this subject, because there is so much that one individual can do or one gender can do. I believe that there are men out there who assume the roles and responsibilities fairly well, and then there are others who may fall to the wayside and may not be doing as much as they should. But generally, overall, I think in the sense of it, in a Dominican context, we are fully covered where men are related and playing their roles. We are, definitely on a path where our nation to be directed in relation to the development of the man, to the development of the boy, and to the development of the family is on a good path, because we have organizations such as the CARIMAN, the Caribbean Male Action Network, who are doing a fairly good job in terms of getting men out there and assuming their roles and responsibilities in the family. I think all in all, men are taking on their responsibilities fairly well over time. We will see an increase in that interest as men seek to develop the family, they seek to develop the community, and generally the family.
This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.